Hey everybody, it's Dina Rico with the Creativity Cave. I'm really excited to be stamping with you today. And I have to tell you, this is actually part 2 of stamping, and that is because my first card did terribly. I'll show it to you later. But it just was not going very well. So I am doing take 2, or as I like to call it, Confessions of a Stamper. I don't know. It's just one of those things where nothing was going right. But let me share with you my card because I really like it. And it's perfect to have a nice, fun, happy, sunshiny card after some very cold days in our world. I don't know where you are, but I think most places in the US have been kind of cold lately. And so this is kind of a great happy card. And the purpose of this card is even better. So, I was saying in my first video that it's a really long Christmas season. You know, you do all this baking and cooking and stamping if you're like that, like awesome like us, right? You are shopping, all these preparations for Christmas, and then it's boom, over. It's kind of like, oh. And then you kind of settle into the winter, January blahs. I think it's nice to have a card to keep on hand, or several of these, that is great to send out to somebody who might kind of have that post holiday blah syndrome. You know what I mean? And so that's why I like this card. Now, I'm of course doing one of my favorite techniques, but even people who make up techniques mess up their techniques. So that is why I have part 2. And I'm sorry that I keep laughing at myself because you didn't see the first video, but I kept messing up. If I have time to do outtakes someday, I really need to, because it is kind of funny. I only swear in some of my videos before I have to hit stop and edit. Okay, I might not swear that often out loud, but in my head sometimes. Anyway. Let me show you how to do this card. Oh goodness, I'm cracking myself up, but I know it's kind of like one of those things where you're sitting in the room and you're like, wasn't there for the joke, I don't get it. But let me bring you in on this really fun, easy card. So to start with, this card uses my favorite technique, which, as you may know, is faux watercolor. I started that technique, or at least I personally decided I'd started that technique this fall, and I like it. I've done it a lot, and you all seem to like it quite a bit because I've gotten a lot of feedback on it, which I'm thrilled about. And my favorite part is that it's an easy technique. So I'm going to use the stamp set Over the Rainbow. I've had this set for a little while and hadn't done anything with it, so I think it's the perfect set to get out and play with. I highly recommend you do that, especially now with Christmas wrapping up and everything. Get it wrapping up. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. And if you have a few spare moments, you know, maybe after Christmas is done, or if you have a little bit of time off, because I know we're observing Christmas the day after, which I love. So if you're off work, perfect opportunity to take out something you haven't had out to play with. So that's one thing I love doing. Anyway, I love this because it's got a lot of cool sayings that go with it, and I'll show you how I'm going to use that for this card. But to start with, I am going to ink up my stamp. Now, I recently inked my ink pad, so you can see this is a very vibrant color. I'm going to stamp off one layer so that it does not like hurt your eyes. And then I'm going to take my aqua painter and I'm going to blend out this beautiful color. And it is just gorgeous. And this is blending much better than my first one. I'll show you that in a little bit, like I said. Okay, now if you want it to be more intense though, you can certainly stamp it again. I'm stamping off though. I put a little more on there. We'll blend it out, and that kind of intensifies the color a little bit. It's kind of all a matter of where your ink pad is in terms of its ink saturation. So if it's just been re-inked, there's too much ink, but if it needs re-inking, maybe there's not enough ink. So somewhere in there, we'll find the happy balance for our beautiful rainbow. And what we want are for the colors to be pretty similar in intensity so that it looks like a normal rainbow and not like a rainbow on an acid trip, or, you know, whatever. Okay, so I have my next color, except I don't think No, I, I couldn't remember if I cleaned my stamp or not. It's not critical on this color because they're fairly similar, but you know, you want to clean between, generally speaking. I mean, that's a good rule of thumb. I'm just going to do the same thing, and you can see I'm just going in between layers. Here's one where I think I could use a little bit more color, so I'm just going to put it on. This is probably an ink pad that needs a little re-inking itself. And ooh, I like that a lot better. So you can see kind of the extremes I've already had in my first two colors. Now it's important to clean your stamps because, for instance, you don't want to put your orange inked up stamp into your yellow ink pad. This is Daffodil Delight. I have to laugh. When I first started stamping, I stamped with my sister, of course. And you know how things are with sisters, especially if you have an older one. You know, she was always right, but I remember my sister would always, she never cleaned her stamps, and it drove me nutso. And I mean, I will be the very first to tell you, I am not the cleanest stamper in the world. In fact, I'm kind of downright messy. You should see my office right now. It's a disaster. But that's often the sign of good things happening creatively. But anyway, I am kind of a stickler about keeping my stamps clean. So anyway, we were at our very first convention for Stampin' Up, and this is like literally almost 20 years ago. And we were stamping Halloween because, oh my gosh, Halloween was like the most amazing thing ever. And this was in summertime. And so I had, of course, my orange ink and my black ink and, you know, whatever other colors we were using. But I had all brand new ink pads, you know, because I'd only just been a demonstrator for a very short time at that point. And she, of course, takes a nice black saturated inked, and this is back in the horrible black, never comes off your ink pad or stamp black, that kind of black ink, right into my orange, brand new orange pad. I think I'd just gotten it, you know, for Halloween. Oh, I was so mad. Sisters, I tell you. Okay. I love my sister, by the way. We're very close. Probably in part because of stamping, but anyway. Okay, so you can see I've done my 3 colors. Now, one thing you also might notice on this one, because I'm doing a pretty good job of it, is I'm trying to leave just a teensy little bit of space between so that my colors don't bleed too much like that. Now, you might want that, but if you don't want that, you can leave a little space. The other thing you can do if you don't want to leave that space, if you don't want the gap, is let your ink dry before you stamp the next color, and then there won't be as much blending. Okay. And so here is my final color, which is Tempting Turquoise. I kind of changed up my typical rainbow color spectrum. I normally would do, you know, the first 3 colors are pretty much always the same for me. I like those 3 colors. They work great. But I did a different green. I often do Old Olive on my rainbows. This time I used Cucumber Crush, and I love the kind of brighter, happy color that Cucumber Crush is. And then I thought that Tempting Turquoise went a little better with Cucumber Crush than the Bermuda Bay would have. So that's how I picked my colors. It doesn't really matter though. I just like changing things up from time to time. So there you have it. Now, let me bring in the one I did for the first video and show you. Now, it's not so horrible, but this one you can see I didn't stamp off first, so it was just crazy dark and it didn't look good. Same kind of thing here, it didn't look good. Then there was a ton of bleeding here, and then what really did it was when I stamped this and it was all goobery, and I thought, that's it, I'm done. So we started over. And I might add, I flubbed up a few of my things that I was trying to say in the video, so all right, whatever. I'm gonna do a practice stamping since I had trouble with this image on the card before. I just did a practice to make sure I'd get it right this time, and gosh darn it, didn't that work pretty well. So there we go. Now the other thing I'm stamping on here is a rainbow, and as I look at this, I wish I would have scooched it over just a little bit and I could put rainbow there. The problem is my rainbow's not going to fit under here. Do you see how there's a little more space on my sample? This is what happens when you make cards and you talk. You don't always get them exactly the way you were planning. That's okay though. Now, I want to show you how I'm going to ink up rainbow without using markers. And there's a reason why I don't like to use markers on photopolymer especially. I don't think it colors on as well. And when you stamp it, it's really not very vibrant. And I really wanted bright, happy color for this. So I'm going to use my ink pads instead. I've already got all my ink pads out, so I may as well use them, right? Now, here's how you do this. I'm going to ink up the whole thing in Daffodil Delight. Okay, it's the lightest color. It will work okay with everything else. Then I'm going to take, and you'll love this, I think. I've got to get my baby wipes. I keep baby wipes in my office, mostly to keep people's fingers clean when they're stamping, you know, because you do acquire some ink on your fingers as you go. But what I'm going to do is take and leave the B and kind of the N, and then kind of wipe off the rest a little bit. Now, I'm not being real particular and perfect about it, but I just wiped off some of that yellow ink. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the next color, which in this case is going to be Tangerine Tango. So I'm going to ink up the A and the I. Okay, and obviously the R gets inked in the process. And then we'll just take a little bit of that R off. Okay, and then we're going to ink it up with my Thoroughly Bright Melon Mambo. Okay, same process, but we're going to flip the stamp over. I'm going to do the O in Cucumber Crush. Okay. Really got it inked on there. Wipe off my W. And you can decide if you think this is easier than doing markers, but I do think it is going to turn out a little bit more vibrant, which is what I was going for. Now, as always, one must huff on their stamp, right? That is the moisture from your breath. Okay, and then you can see there's my rainbow. I kind of like it. I do like my sample a little better, but that's okay. Now, what I do know from doing this so far is I probably need to do a little re-inking, but I really like how fun this is and how I've gotten all of those colors on there without much effort, and I think it turned out a little bit better than if I were using my markers. Plus, if you don't have markers, then it's even better. Okay, that's how I chose that. Now, to finish this card up, it's really a piece of cake. I'm just going to adhere this to a piece of black cardstock, and then I have prepared ahead of time a sparkle embossed card base from the embossing folder sparkle in Cucumber Crush. Now, I also have to tell you, so I want to add a little something here because, you know, I like doing that. I hope it's going to turn out though. But, you know, here we go. We're going to practice on the dud. So I want to put some sparkles. I'm going to add an accent of gold metallic thread. So what if I put some gold sparkles on here? Because, you know, rainbow, gold. What do we think of this? I don't know. I can't decide if I like this or not. I think we'll do it. Because why not? Okay. So you notice I moved my stuff out of the way just in case my speckles got a little excessive or all over the place. Okay, so I've got my gold speckles on here. So this is using Gold Wink of Stella, and I'm just smacking it against something, in this case an aqua painter. And then last, but we'll let that set aside and dry. Last but not least, to finish my card off, you can see I've put some gold thread behind. So to do that, I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive. This will be covered up by my rainbow panel. And then I'll take my gold metallic thread and wrap it around several times. And then I'll just pop up the rainbow stamping on top. So I hope you've liked this. I hope this has at least been entertaining for you. I hope you are going to think about making some cards just to spread a little joy to people who might need it after the holidays or even during the holidays. You never know. The holidays I know are tough for some people. So we will pop this up and stick it on there. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and all the details will be on my blog, and there also are links to the products in the description of this video that you can click on if you would like to purchase any of them. Ooh, as this is drying, I like the gold is showing up a little better. I like it. I like it a lot. Anyway, Merry Christmas and happy stamping, guys. Bye!